Thanks for checking out Billy the Kid Adventures. Join me for part 2 of my Brookside Reservation videos featuring more history and trivia along with dazzling cherry blossom scenery. The time to see Brookside's cherry blossoms lining John Nagy Boulevard in April is usually quite brief. So if you have a chance, take a visit while you can. But if you can't make it, enjoy the view. "2023 marks 50 years since Brookside opened its Ridge Road entrance with much fanfare, including a celebration featuring Mayor Ralph Perk. The Ridge Road entrance opening coincided with the construction of Rose and Elder Fields in the early 70s in support of the city's goal to regularly host the National Softball Championship and provide easier road access to the Brookside Fields. Opening up a second entrance to Brookside Park was great for providing access to softball spectators to get down here. But one unexpected problem related to the parking lot behind me. With two entrances, young people flocked to Brookside's main parking lot on weekends and it became party central in the 1970s until police had to take care of the situation. Prior to the opening of the Ridge Road entrance, Brookside's main entrance was from Fulton and Denison. When plans surfaced in the 1990s to close the entrance to automobile traffic, local residents were not happy, but ultimately nothing changed and the entrance closed and remains closed today to automobiles. The reality of Brookside Reservation and the adjacent zoo is that they're both located in a valley and thus prone to flooding. And there's been plenty of floods down here. The worst flood as it relates to the zoo occurred in 1959 and resulted in the zoo's reptile house collection being nearly wiped out, as seen in this newspaper story. This tragedy resulted in numerous efforts to reduce the flood potential of Big Creek flowing through Brookside and the zoo over the decades. But the results of these improvements have been mixed at best, with many floods over the years, including a couple in the mid-70s that I got to witness firsthand, and notably the gigantic 1975 flood, which miraculously didn't end up with any animals losing their lives. There were several feet of water in both Brookside Park and the adjacent zoo, and as you can see from the story, the monkeys had to climb to the top of Monkey Island. So fast forward to today, and even with decades of multiple plans and improvements, floods are just a reality, as recent as a few years ago. Motorcycle Hill down Brookside used to be behind me. During summer afternoons and evening softball games, the sight and sounds of the dirt bike riders navigating the hills was a cool sight to behold. From a distance, you'd see the adventurous dirt bikers practicing their hill climbs of Motorcycle Hill or traversing along the various paths near the top, letting their adrenaline fuel their lively ride. In addition to the dirt bike daredevils by Motorcycle Hill, some wilder kids would jump off the 30-foot waterfall that used to be here behind me. And here's another view of the waterfall that used to be behind me. You can see the top of where they used to jump off of. With construction of the elevated I-71 highway in the mid-60s, nearby Big Creek leading into Brookside Park was put into a concrete channel, and a waterfall drop was built to adjust for the new height difference. And it didn't take long for kids exploring down Brookside to discover the new cool waterfall. And despite a warning sign, it wasn't long before some daredevils were leaping off the top and taking a 30-foot plunge. And if you're wondering what happened to the waterfall structure seen here as it was just a few years ago, compared to how it looks today, it's part of a plan to restore Big Creek to a more eco-friendly habitat. American patriot John Philip Sousa and his marching band toured America for decades, performing their iconic Stars and Stripes Forever countless times. One of the places Sousa and his marching band performed was Brookside Stadium in May 1918 to an enthusiastic crowd of 100,000 spectators, helping to raise money in support of World War I. As discussed in my previous Brookside video, Brookside Reservation and the Cleveland Metropark Zoo have an intertwined history, given the migration of the original Wade Park Zoo to the empty eastern portion of Brookside Park, where it came to be known as the Brookside Park Zoo. And along with that unique historic connection, the zoo has some mostly forgotten history that involves Cleveland's shuttered Lacey Brewing Company. As reported in the news, a set of 4-ton stone polar bear and goat statues was commissioned as gateposts for Lacey Brewing Company in 1949. When Lacey Brewing went out of business a decade later, they donated the polar bear and goat stone sculptures to the zoo, where they still reside today. And on the topic of somewhat obscure art, the zoo also has in its possession one of the limited sets of endangered species screen prints created in 1983 by Andy Warhol, which was later donated to the zoo by one of its patrons, with the artwork residing in the zoo's auditorium. On the topic of endangered species, the woods down Brookside have been the site of several mysterious creature sightings. In 1968, when some teens reported seeing a mysterious creature down Brookside by the zoo, one of the interesting related interviews was with the restaurant owner who described seeing a 400-pound hairy man as noted in the article. A few years later, both major Cleveland newspapers covered similar stories about a large hairy creature near the zoo down Brookside, bringing about even more speculation about the mysterious creature. And here's the other story. Back to the 1972 hairy monster incident, zoo staff quickly got involved, concerned with the very real possibility one of their gorillas may have escaped, given the handful of escapes over the years from the zoo. And while we're on topic of animal escapes, here's a couple more recent ones, including the latest one with the wolf taking a stroll through the zoo. But after zoo officials found no gorilla had escaped, no creature was found, in the 1970s, Bigfoot phenomenon was just becoming popular. It was only a matter of time before the two Brookside incidents were added to the growing Bigfoot folklore. And lastly, for some obscure Cleveland trivia and a cool view coming down the road into Brookside from the now closed Fulton Dennison entrance, enjoy these scenes from the Route 66 TV show episode filmed in Cleveland with guest star Robert Redford. Route 66 was an early 1960s TV show about two friends and their adventures traveling across America in their classic Corvette. One of Route 66's main stars was Martin Milner, who would later go on to also star in Adam 12. Always filmed on location, the 1961 Route 66 Cleveland episode includes a great scene at the end of the show, with Martin Milner's character Todd Stiles and his partner driving down the road from Fulton and Denison into Brookside as they track down a distraught Janash, played by a young unknown actor named Robert Redford, under the Fulton Bridge. Redford would do his first movie the following year, and as they say, the rest is history, and some cool Cleveland trivia. Thanks again for checking out Billy the Kid Adventures. For more adventures, check out my Brookside Park Part 1 video that includes a much more detailed look at the history and trivia of Brookside Park.